The chair recognizes the honourable member for Foxhill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm just wondering, there was this comment made shortly before I spoke about a strategy with dealing with tariffs and the cost of living. I understand the anxiety and concern about cost of living. It is, of course, an important policy point, but I think to leave the comment unanswered as if the government is not paying any attention to it would be unfair to the public. The government is totally consumed with this issue of what things cost. We've been working, of course, on the energy issue, and there's been tremendous success on the cost of energy. The cost of food, of course, is a difficult issue, but the government now has people far afield seeking alternative markets to be able to get food in here on a cheaper basis. The problem you have is, and it's not just our country, is how do you respond in a public policy sense when someone goes to bed one night and says, it's on, then wakes up the next morning and says, it's off, and then says the next morning, it's on again, and then it's off again. Just asking for a friend. Yeah. Today happens to be St. George's Day. The church that was the center of cultural life at the Valley when we were small, so I imagine they have a big patronal festival on Sunday. And in that connection, I'd like to extend condolences on the passing of Estella Louise Zonical, who passed away last evening at the age of 96. The former director of social services, Melanie Zonical, is her daughter, as Marilyn Zonical, a former ambassador, is also another daughter. But I mentioned her in particular because this used to be when I was in the days of trying to get into this place and canvassing the Centerville district. Well, first of all, I grew up with all the people around there, but Mrs. Zonical had, I got to tell you, until I went to Fox Hill and met Miss Essie's chicken, this fried chicken that she did was unbelievable. You know, yeah, Miss Zonical's chicken. So Saturday night, that was the place to stop for fried chicken. And she's lived a full life, raised a successful family, and passed away at the age of 96. So may she rest in peace, and my condolences to her family. If I can be allowed a few more minutes, I would also like to extend condolences to the family of artist Neely, who is a giant of a man, a voice that's now stilled, that was our supporter, an activist for almost 9 decades in Grand Bahama. And I always thought it was curious, you know, he actually ran for the House of Assembly. You know, he ran for Paul Adley's party. He was a candidate. But after that, he was PLP all the way. And, you know, every member of Parliament for the Progressive Liberal Party, he was the go-to person for organizing that political community and ensuring that the votes got in the ballot box for the Progressive Liberal Party. He not only acted with his mouth too, because for him, West End was the center of the universe. And, you know, everybody who wanted anything done in West End had to go see him first. I was a public relations consultant. My late friend Al Dillette and myself used to run a PR firm in Grand Bahama. And we used to do a promotion out there. He used to have a nightclub out on the water. What was it called? Cameo, yeah, out there on the waterfront. It's where his son's business now is, with the stone crab and the crawfish and the fishing business. But quite a colorful character, and a great, and could tell you the history of what happened in West Grand Bahama and how things developed the way they were. And if he was with you, he was with you. You just have to ask Obie Wilscombe, and when we went down there to have that meeting, and we were trying to get Well, they say Brave sent me. I'm sorry, the Prime Minister sent me down there to do something else, but they showed me better that they could. Anyway, we had fun, but he got up and said, "No, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. Hear what I tell you? It ain't gonna happen." So he supported Henry Bowen and Moses Hall and Obie Wilshcombe and latterly Kingsley Smith. Simeon Brown, that's right. I forgot he served as a member of Parliament. Close friend of the Deputy Prime Minister, then Arthur Hanna, who is the Member of Parliament for Eglinton's father. West End has really lost a towering and giant figure that strode like a colossus across that community. And we should certainly miss his support, his voice, all the things he did to make Grand Bahama successful and West End, to put West End on the map. And may he rest in peace. And so to Mrs. Neely, to all the members of the family, our sincere condolences on behalf of the government. Mrs. McCoulis and I used to get a chuckle, and she gave me an embossed copy of the work which I really enjoyed. And everyone knows my impatience with Bahamian ceremonies. And she had this chapter in one of her books, I think is the one about what a true Bahamian or something of this nature. So anyway, she analyzed Bahamian ceremonies. And you know this thing that they have now, I stand on the established protocol. And I keep saying, when people say that, that actually takes the same time it takes by just simply calling the names. I mean, it doesn't save any time. But anyway, we stand on the established protocol. And then you proceed to call everybody who is One time, I was at the funeral of the late Doris Burrows, right? And I swear the salutations took about 19 minutes, Madam Speaker. Man, every time, everyone he saw in the audience said, "Oh, and there's my good friend," this and that. 19 minutes later, we were still on the salutations before the actual thing started. And then the one that gets me, of course, is at the end of this program, it's the vote of thanks. And then you just go through every single person from the start. I want to thank this one. I want to thank that one. I want to thank the next one. Yeah, she's given me the permission to extend the time. So that was my fun time with Patricia Glynn, because I thought you did a great job, because I'm the same one with that. So may she rest in peace. She really was a towering literary figure, and all of the praise which was heaped upon her today, I join with that. Finally, Madam Speaker, I wish to formally extend on the floor of this House our condolences to the Roman Catholic community in the Bahamas on the passing of Pope Francis. In the development of the statecraft and foreign policy of our country, back in 2012, a decision was made by this government, its then incarnation, to fully engage with the Vatican as a state, and also as a means of concretizing and thanking the Catholic community in this country for its contribution to the development of this country and the education of the dispossessed and the poor. And he was a standout. His predecessors were standouts in that regard. As a result of it, the first formal visit of a prime minister of the Bahamas at the Vatican took place in 2013. Prime Minister Perry Christie, Mrs. Christie, and a delegation met with the Pope, and an ambassador was appointed, I believe shortly after, the first of which was Ambassador Sean McQueenie. And he presented his credentials, I think, within a year or so of that. We've said all the formal things, that he was a champion of the poor, of the oppressed, that he told people that you have an intrinsic right to exist. He fought against prejudice and supported climate justice. And that is, in this incarnation of the government under Prime Minister Philip Davis, that's the issue on which we most work together. His Secretary of State and his nuncios around the world were all instructed to push the issue of climate justice, which, you know, at the Foreign Ministry, our instructions from the Prime Minister is that is the #1 foreign policy issue for our country, the question of climate justice. But I would just like to share two personal stories, which I think fleshes out, in my view, the kind of person he was. I recall shaking hands with him as we left, him saying these words: "You pray for me, I pray for you." And as the visit ended, Mrs. Bernadette Christie, the wife of the then Prime Minister, was so moved by the emotions of the visit that she was comforted by the Pope. And the visit was actually extended by about 20 minutes, where the Pope sat down with her for about 20 minutes. And then the visit ended. And I'm sure she has never forgotten that moment, because when you walk into the Vatican, those who've never been there before, the grandeur of the experience and the moving quality of thousands of years of history and Christianity at its center. It is really quite a moving experience, and I'm sure she never forgot the time, that extra time which he took with her on that occasion. And then secondly, Prime Minister Davis took with him Mr. and Mrs. Ed Carey. They're old friends of his, and Catholics. I think Mr. Carey thinks he's more Catholic than the Pope.
Yeah.
But Mr. and Mrs. Carey accompanied the Prime Minister on this visit. And when the Prime Minister got upstairs, the protocol people had said that the numbers had been exceeded, and so they were not going to be allowed to come and visit with the Pope. The Prime Minister said to Pope Francis, just at the end of the visit, "You know, I have two very strongly Catholics who have traveled with me from the Bahamas, and I'm sure they'd like to." I'll wrap up in 2 seconds here. I'm sure they would like to. I'm sure they would like to come and meet you, or I'd like them to meet you. But so the Pope said to him, "Well, where are they?" So he says, "Well, they're downstairs, and the protocol people are saying they're not going to be allowed upstairs." So he said, "What? Bring them upstairs. They must come now." Of course, the protocol people were furious, right, because this is not supposed to happen. And we waited again for 20, 25 minutes while they were brought upstairs, and they came into the room with him, and he hammed it up for the pictures. He said to Mrs. Carey, no, you have to stand next to me. Take the picture here. And lots of pictures. And I'm sure they never forgot that. And now Mr. Carey thinks the Pope is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But it was just quite a moving event, and I hope fleshes out the personal aspect of this papacy. And why do we think this relationship is so important? Because we are small, and the world as it now turns, and this is not a unique moment in history, the world always turns in these directions, where small and weak become so unimportant that as the elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. And what we have is only our voice. We don't have the economic power, we don't have military power, we only have the moral values and our voice. And it is important when someone who has moral suasion and power speaks up for those of us who only have their voice, to say that we have an intrinsic right to exist, not because we have wealth, not because we are powerful, but because we are, and we have a right to exist. We have a right to our culture, we have a right to our country, and we have a right to a rules-based system that everybody understands operates on a rules base. I heard somewhere where people are saying on these migration questions that are very much in the air today, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that people have a right to leave their country and to return to their country. The corollary of that is that once you accept the rules and you act legally, you have a right to go to another country and not to be rejected or your movement around the world abridged because of prejudicial or irrational measures. That's the world which we ought to operate in. And I would say this also, that I believe it's a biblical injunction that says, to whom much is given, much is required. To whom much is given, much is required. So if you are a wealthy state, if you are a powerful state, that has been given to you for a reason. It's ordained, to put it in Christian terms. And your policies ought to be so directed on that biblical injunction, to whom much is given, much is required. Our foreign policy, therefore, is predicated on all of those aspects. But we also say we're not going to get into a shouting match with anyone. That does not benefit us. We believe that we're dealing with rational actors, and until we see otherwise, that's the basis upon which we act. And it is my hope that going forward, I have no doubt that the Commonwealth of the Bahamas will continue to be a successful nation. We've got a great cadre of young people who are coming behind us. They're being well trained. They are being taught values, Christian values, and they're taught to respect the rule of law and to respect the rights of each individual and the public interest. So on behalf of the government, I wish to once again extend to the Catholic community our sincere condolences on the passing of Pope Francis, and to announce that on Saturday, when the funeral takes place, that flags in the Bahamas on all official buildings should be flying at half staff. Thank you. God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Centerville.